Noble, and I am here at Ross Garden Tours, and this is our 2021 online tour presentation. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and to let you know, for those of you who are listening and watching, it is a webinar, so the only people that you will see will be myself, Graham Ross and Colin Barlow. We won't be seeing you. So just to let you know that. So as I've mentioned, I've got a couple of esteemed people joining me today. So it should be very fun. And I think I've got a job on my hands keeping these two on track. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Graham. So over to you, Graham. Hello and welcome.
Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you very much. And good morning to you all. Good morning, Colin. It's great to have your company in this amazing year of non-travel. But we're trying to be positive. We're all gardeners, and gardeners own this network, and we've been in the business for 40 years with travel, and we want to really make sure that we're prepared if bubbles start to appear in travel, or if borders start to come down. We want to be ready for those thousands of travellers who have been with us for such a long time.
Yes, thank you, Graham. I'm so looking forward to telling everyone about what we're doing today. So the other guest that we have today is Colin Barlow. So while Graham and I are in Sydney, Colin is actually joining us from Perth, and hence Graham's comments about getting through the barriers and the borders. Hello, Colin.
Thank you.
Great, how are you?
I feel like we're in another country at the moment, so.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's that time of year, all the wildflowers are starting to come out, so I can't wait to get you all over here again.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah, we can't wait either. So without much further ado, because we have quite a bit to get through today, I am just going to change my screen, so bear with me, and we can start the, bear with me. I'm getting Kent's assistance here. Perfect. Okay, so this is our online presentation for our 2021 tours. So what we have today is, let me see. And okay, now I'm getting the hang of this. We're going to tell you a little bit about the tours that are upcoming for next year. It's been such a tough time for everyone, so it's really lovely to have something that's so uplifting and exciting to look forward to traveling again next year. So we won't be able to sort of go into in-depth on all the tours, but I really like to focus a little on the tours that Graham and both Colin are leading, so you can get to hear more about their great travel experiences. So Graham, I am going to hand over to you first, and we'll get started on the Tasmania tour, which is our first for the year.
Thank you, Kirsty. Yeah, 21 tours we've got organised for next year, so we're being very optimistic and assuming that at some stage, maybe later this year or early next year, some of the Australian borders will open. Kent and I have actually had a meeting with the recently appointed CEO of the Australian Federation of Travel Agents with a federal government member. And they're also being optimistic for later this year and early next year. We always start off the year just after Christmas with our Tasmanian lavender tour. And in fact, this farm I've been involved with virtually since the time it was run down, discovered, purchased by an amazing family. And I suggested, even though they were looking at producing the best quality lavender at Bridgestow, lavender oil, that is, I said that maybe to Robert Ravens and his family that you might be on the cusp of creating an amazing tourist attraction. Well, that's what's happened. And we've been going to Bridgestow Lavender Farm ever since. Well, that photograph there was about a quarter of the lavender. Today, they have 8 of their own hybrid lavenders, which produce the best oil or the best flowers, but mainly they're now exporting what I believe, and as scientists, they believe is the best oil around the world. In fact, I'm talking to Bridgestow on their webinar tomorrow. So a lot of people are doing the same thing we're doing today. It's a great little short escape after Christmas. So if you want to dodge the credit cards coming in, come with us to Tasmania. Once again, it's a tour that Sandra has been taking, and she just loves this region. And I often tag along at the back of the bus making irrelevant comments and having a lot of fun. It's a really relaxed journey to the northeast of Tasmania to see the lavender and see how it's grown. Because Robert Ravens knows that we're coming, he always puts on a very special lunch, and he holds the harvest off because it does vary from year to year, often by 2 or 3 weeks. And he holds the harvest off until the day we arrive, and they will have the machines going out, bringing the leaves and the flowers back, extracting the oil. We'll go into the rooms to see the oil coming out. It's just an incredible experience. I still find it magical after all these years and all these visits. We have lunch under that incredible oak tree, which is about 200 and something years old. It's very early in Tasmania's history that there were 2 oaks planted, and that's one of them there you can see on your screen. And we have a champagne lunch, Tasmanian champagne, of course, underneath that beautiful oak, and a lovely, lovely fresh lunch. But we also visit a number of local private gardens, one that we only discovered 2 years ago, and it's a beautiful garden, incredibly historic, and it also is part of a vineyard. So we are forced to have some wine and a beautiful lunch and visit quite a number of really top quality gardens in that part of Tasmania.
That sounds like hard work, Graham.
It is. It's very hard work, Kirsty, but somebody has to do it.
Yes, good for you. So, and this is our Victoria and Autumn tour, Graham. So,
autumn's a great time in Victoria, and we've got a slightly different journey in 2021. We have all the incredible gardens. Kirsty's taking this trip, and you'll get an idea of the calibre of the gardens that we're visiting. Paul Bangay Stonefields, which I'm sure some of you are following Paul on his Instagram at Stonefields. Musk Farm, which is an absolute, it was Stuart Rattle's garden, the late Society interior designer. It's now owned by some people who love and care for it. Frogmore, a famous prairie-style garden owned by Jack Marshall, and then Stone Hill, which of course was designed by the inimitable Michael McCoy and is now owned by Sue Moriarty. So it's a really beautiful journey into Victoria in autumn.
Thank you, Graham.
Now, the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. Well, the whole industry, like so many other industries around the world that have been impacted, whether it was Chelsea in London, and Her Majesty was disappointed, as was Prince Charles, with the fact that Chelsea couldn't happen this year. And we lost Melbourne's flower show in 2020. And the plan is at this stage progressing that it'll be held in 2021, 23 to 26th of March. Again, it's a short break for people wanting to get out of town. We'll be staying in a beautiful hotel nearby. We'll be visiting the Heidi Museum of Modern Art and go up into the Dandenongs to Cloud Hill, which you've seen on Better Homes more times than I can pick a stick at. It's a lovely, lovely garden and is part of the Diggers empire today. So Melbourne Flower Show, it's definitely back on. They've scheduled it, so fingers crossed that the borders will open and poor old Victoria will go back to some more sanity next year.
I hope so too, Graham.
Well, in 1980, we took our first tour to Japan. It was the very first tour of 700 odd that we've taken since 1980. And this being our 40th year, we'll be returning next year to the Cherry Blossom Festival. Can I just, and I know people get a bit bored with it, but I should issue a little bit of a warning. We have got a number of people who were booked for 2020 who are already booked for 2021. So we have a Melbourne departure and a Brisbane departure and a Sydney departure. That's the plan at this stage. It may change as we get a bit closer. Now, the Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, has just retired, and I suspect from our contacts of 40 years in Japan and talking to them earlier this week, I think they will ramp up their COVID controls much more than what they have done in the throughout 2020. But just the same, in talking to them and talking to the people at the Kanea Hotel up in Nikko, which is the oldest hotel, it must be about 185 years now in Nikko, oldest in Japan. They're all saying it's incredibly quiet and there's very few international tourists. And we're looking forward to a nice, quiet, wonderful journey through Japan. It is a destination that we've been going to, as I say, for actually, to be accurate, 39 years. Now, the photograph on the top left, we added, due to the discovery by Rosalind in our office, Rosalind Willis, who discovered this garden. And yes, that's the entrance to a garden, believe it or not. And it's just outside Nagoya, an amazing electronic evening display of a light show. It's considered to be the best light show in all of the world. Now, why is it on our tour? Because adjacent to this incredible light show, and this is just the entrance to it, is a most spectacular garden, both in spring and in autumn. The acreage of the garden, again, is staggeringly high. It's acres and acres. It's one of the largest display gardens in the world. On the right-hand side, you can see the Gasho houses of Shirakawa-go, which is another area that we've been involved with since 1980. It took us many years to discover this little village way up in the hills. And we just have the most wonderful day there, again, both in autumn and in spring for the cherries. The castle on the left is part of the Nagoya Castle and the Black Crow Castle. They look very similar. Nagoya has decided, because it was struck by heavy bombardment during World War II, they are going to close the castle, but they have, as an added attraction, completely rebuilt the palace. The palace in Nagoya is now my second most loved building. I think the Opera House in Sydney is possibly one of the most stunning architectural feats. Well, the palace in Nagoya is built entirely out of timber. They have the original designs that were spirited away literally 2 weeks before the Americans bombed it during World War II. So they have the original plans, and the whole thing has been built out of timber in the most beautiful way. The central photograph you can see there is part of the bonsai that we've been visiting in a private bonsai museum in the outskirts of Tokyo. And we also go to the home of a bonsai master that I've known since the 70s. He's since passed away. His wife has passed away. His son has passed away. Yet the family still invites us back to see this incredible bonsai, and it includes the oldest bonsai in the world. It's a great experience and a great journey. The right-hand side photograph in the bottom right-hand corner is the canal that leads through Kyoto from Lake Biwa, and it's a rushing canal of water during spring, and it was planted out by the owner of a garden that's just nearby, and this is the Philosopher's Walk, and it's planted out with hundreds and hundreds of cherry blossoms, and it's one of the interesting walks, one of the most popular walks in the world. Thousands of people walk it, and everyone just gets in a little bit of a queue, and we all sort of wander along, ooh-ahing all the way along for a kilometre or so. He planted the trees in gratitude for the acceptance of his artworks. He was one of the great Japanese artists in the early part of the 20th century. And in gratitude to the locals, he planted all these cherry trees. We have access to his granddaughter, Mrs. Hashimoto-san, and his garden, which has been miraculously maintained and beautifully looked after. And we have lunch there, often inside his home, her home, It's just an amazing journey, Japan in spring blossom time.
Oh, thank you, Graham.
Well, the Flinders Ranges. Now, I've got to tell you that this is a journey that has a little bit of two different tours that we've been doing for many years. I think for over 20 years, I've been doing the Outback Wildflower Safari. But then eventually the drought bit into the wildflower scene in the outback of Australia. And that's the top end of South Australia, the southern end of the Northern Territory, and the corner country of New South Wales and Queensland. And the drought is still causing an enormous amount of grief out that way. But at the southern end, we have the Flinders Ranges. And we used to go to the Flinders Ranges and then use a mud map, which we often got lost, to make our way to Broken Hill. But we've decided with this journey, 17 to 25 of April, that we will come up from the south, from Adelaide, go to see these beautiful rose gardens, which you can see on the top right-hand corner there. Libby Cameron's taking this tour. I was hoping to take it, but we had an arm wrestle and Libby won. And we go up through the Clare Valley. Their Autumn Garden Festival will be on, and it was my dad. But for those who want a little bit more of an adventure in their journey as well, so we then visit Heritage Garden, which is in the top left photograph that you can see there. But then we decide to head north into the outback, the real outback of Australia. Look, I said at our launch in Sydney a couple of days ago, I don't think you should have an Australian passport till you've seen this country, till you've got your white shorts and white socks stained with the red dust and you can never get it out. I just think it's the most beautiful, emotional part of Australia. And I love this region so much. The Flinders Ranges was created by an enormous upheaval, a volcanic upheaval, that also created in South Australia the Flinders Ranges, and the East Coast, it created the countryside and the coastline of New South Wales. We have an opportunity when we get to Maree to fly out over the largest lake in the world. We're expecting rain in Queensland and northern New South Wales later this year, and that rain takes around about 6 months to get into Lake Eyre. So we will have the opportunity for a flight over Lake Eyre to see this enormous region of water. It's one of the great iconic stretches of water that you will see. You'll also have an experience of the red earth and the Warrumbungles. We'll take you into Brackna Gorge, Parakilma Gorge. You'll see the wildflowers there because they've had rain and it just looks superb. And a chance to fly over Wilpena Pound, which is all part of that volcanic activity. There are only 3 of these in the world, I understand, where they are circular volcanic upheavals. And we come in a little top right-hand corner, you can see a little bit of a dip in the pound there. That's the entry road into a very small village that we'll stay in and get an experience of in Wilpena in South Australia. It really is quite a spectacular site. We stay in the old Wilpena Pound, which is, I think, a great adventure itself. No white socks, no white sand shoes, because they'd all come back red, because the red earth, full of iron, it just stains all your white clothing. So take orange clothing, orange shorts, and an orange pair of sneakers, and you'll have a grand time. We also have Bunaroo Gorge, Brackna Gorge, Parakilma Gorge. You'll see all of the great sights and a little, in fact, a really good experience of the outback. We also stay at Maree, which is at the southern end of the Birdsville track. So for those of you that are my age that can remember the Red X trials with Jack Davey and Gelignite Jack Murray, that's the journey they took down the famous Birdsville track. We'll take you up the Birdsville track for a while so you can get an experience of that real outback country. It's absolutely magical. And again, I lost the arm wrestle for this one, but it is a stunning experience that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. When in all the years that I've been taking tours to Japan in springtime, I'm always aware that we have only in 40 spring tours, we've only seen wisteria twice. And it occurred to me about 6 years ago, there must be another season. Well, of course there is. And it's like in Australia, there's early spring, late winter, early spring, late spring. And in Japan, it's exactly the same. The cherry front is a climatic change that comes in vertically off the Pacific Ocean. It also impacts on the wisterias. So many years ago, we sent one of the staff off to do a quick journey right around Japan, catching buses and taxis and walking. And the discovery of the secret wisteria gardens in Japan was absolutely mind-blowing. It was such an obvious destination for a whole range of tours. Now, all of these gardens you will see in this particular vista that you can see. Bottom right-hand corner, you'll catch all of the wisterias and these wisteria tunnels. The wisteria tunnels, this is Kawachi Fuji, and they've planted the tunnels. In fact, all up, I think you will visit 3 different tunnels in different parts of Japan. One of them is easy access, and the other 2, we've got to travel a little bit, but the travel is so worth it. All of these gardens, if you, by the way, if you care to go on to Better Homes and Gardens, I have filmed last year. So if you go on to Better Homes and Gardens, Graham's Stories or Graham's Garden Stories, you will see them listed that you can view. The wisterias here, the top right-hand corner is the Shiofune Azalea Festival. That's a temple run by 11 monks in a valley filled with, I can't remember, I think it's 20,000 azaleas. It's just incredibly beautiful. And it's a valley that they maintain every year. The azaleas are pruned once, just after flowering. They're fertilized, and then we come in late spring to see them. The left-hand side is it's Hitachi Seaside Park, and it's covered with blue nemophila. In autumn, it's covered with a different plant species, but it just goes on and on and on forever. I thought, oh, this is going to be a bit boring, but when I got there to film it, we were all just amazed that you can walk all the way to the top of the hill. You can see some shadows there in the top left-hand corner photograph. There is only one tree, that's it there. It's a pine, a local pine. It's on the Pacific coast. So the nemophila is warmed by the weather that comes in off the Pacific, and it lasts. There are literally millions of nemophila plants covering all of those hills. That also has been photographed, and we showed lots and lots of that vision in a separate story on Better Homes and Gardens. The bottom left-hand corner is the other attraction that we include in this incredible journey, the Spring Festivals Tour of Japan, and that's the Doshogu Peony Garden in Ueno Park. I might add, there is one garden that we haven't shown a photograph of, and that is a very special landscape garden. Some horticulturists and landscapers like myself consider it to be one of the finest gardens in the world, which is included in this journey. So there's so much to see: the wisterias, the azaleas, the blue nemophila, and the peonies. It makes it, in fact, in the old days, we would all run out of film. Today, with our phone cameras, you'll need plenty of battery. All I can say, you'll need plenty of battery for this one, for your phone, because it's just it's a visual feast of colour.
Beautiful.
My wife has been doing this journey for quite a number of years, and I must admit, Sandra was born in Cooma. In fact, last Sunday was her birthday, and we wish her all the very best, because this region she really loves greatly. And when she started researching for the Monero and Bright, Bright was a separate journey, but the Monero was a journey of its own. Going into the high country of Australia, there will still be some snow around, there'll be wildflowers, and then there are these incredible private estates. It includes the high country of New South Wales and Victoria. Now, I must admit, the owners of these gardens go back to the early history of Australian cattle breeding. And the photographs that you can see there are these estates. The top right, of course, is the high country of the Snowy Mountains. From memory, we do go up to Krakenback from Thredbo village to get a view right across the country, and you can get glimpses of Kosciuszko, although if we use its correct pronunciation, which most Australians don't, it's Kosciuszko. But Kosciuszko, you'll see, bottom left-hand corner, we've added to this tour. And we've added the Bright Autumn Festival. And Bright it is. Look at the colours. Bright is a lovely village, planted out very early, late 19th century, early 20th century, and they continued to add autumn colour in their plantings right throughout the 20th century, which we can enjoy. That's Bright on the left. The other beautiful town that we visit is Beechworth, which is on the right, which these are gold mining towns, of course, in Victoria, and they have a great gold mining history and great architecture. So it's really a stunning combination of architecture, beautiful horticulture, autumn colour, and up in the top left-hand corner, the hospitality of the oldest cattle properties in Australia is yours to enjoy. It really is another one of those beautiful journeys. I imagine Sandra will be taking it, but there could be a bit of an arm wrestle for that one, as quite a few of our...
Graham.
Sandra's taking it, is she?
Well, I think I might be, because I might have to do an arm wrestle with Sandra.
Well, you might have to, Kirsty, because I know she loves it, but I know you've been on it as well. You were there last year with Sandra. You will have the most wonderful time. Not only is Kirsty great company on a tour, but she's highly experienced, and we're very lucky to have her working with us and escorting this journey.
Thank you, Graham. That's very sweet of you. All right.
Well, who knows? Well, I know the Royal Horticultural Society knows that there was an enormous disappointment of 173,000 people who could not go to Chelsea this year. We had a message from Prince Charles, and he was heartbroken that so much effort that all of the landscapers and all of the nurseries and all of the gardeners were putting into Chelsea 2020 couldn't happen. But they're optimistic that it will next year. There may be some restrictions, but they generally won't impact on us because we have always done something very special. We have a special entry pass for our travellers, and Colin will be, I imagine, taking this tour because he's an old Londoner, and we go on the day of the members of the Royal Horticultural Society. So it's quieter, you can walk where you want to go, photograph what you want to photograph, and Colin's been taking this trip for many, many years. Any one of the last 12 years, from last year backwards, you can see again on Better Homes and Gardens, because I've been filming that for such a long time. But Colin, you might like to add a bit of an experience of some of these other gardens that you'll visit at Chelsea.
Yeah, well, one of the things I love about Chelsea, it's just that experience. People don't realise, what's actually involved, the level of horticulture. Once people actually go to Chelsea, they start to understand the difference. If you want to have the best plants and show them from all around the world, you've got to show them at Chelsea, and that's just the place they need to be. So you're going to see the newest plants from all around the world, whether it's from Holland, from Europe, they're all going to be there, and the best displays. You've got, show gardens which are over $1 million, the equivalent, which is absolutely phenomenal. And probably one of the things which you and I know, and I know with Sandra, is what we found is one of the great things is you've got to have a PIMS at Chelsea. We've got some photos there of some of the show gardens you can see there. A show garden there, people don't realise the effort that goes into these. These are planned, some of them, for 2 years. We've had a great experience over the years. We've got to see a lot of the Aussies when they've actually been at Chelsea. And we've been lucky enough to actually go on their sites and get some inside knowledge on basically how they work. If you look at those chrysanthemums in the top right there, you think you've seen it all, but until you actually go to Chelsea and experience that pavilion, for me, it's probably one of the most exciting things there. you're actually going in there. Also on the bottom left there, you can see the Chelsea pensioners. You'll actually see a lot of those around, basically in and amongst the amazing plants. One of the other things you'll see there, you can see at the bottom, is a Chelsea fringe. Usually when we get into London, probably one of the great things people don't realise about Ross Garden tours, I've been taking tours for many, many years, and I tell them, is the difference is you've got hotels which are right in the city and very, very close. So you're close to everything. We're in Kensington. We're not far from there. You can actually, a little short taxi or walk down, and you can actually view the Chelsea fringe the night before and see these amazing shop fronts, which are just done up in the most amazing flowers. You can also see in the bottom right-hand corner there, Churchill Arms, basically the amazing hanging baskets. I've been doing lots of hanging baskets at the moment, but having a bit more time. But just the level of horticulture you get in London and Chelsea is so different to what you're going to see anywhere else. And I think for anybody to go to Chelsea, that's a once in a lifetime experience you should really take. And whether it's looking at the show gardens, I think last year, not last year, but the year before, I was so disappointed last year not to go. But to see Kate's Garden, just a number of people there who actually were queuing up. And the big difference I want to probably note, and you said what makes the real difference is we actually get there early in the morning before the crowds. We get into the show gardens before anybody else sees them. They're all having the champagne suppers and breakfast. We get to see them before anything else. So you'll be 4 or 5 deep. Lots of the other tours will be 25 or 26 deep. So it makes a huge difference, one, going on Members' Day and actually going early in the morning. So it's something which you don't really want to miss at Chelsea, which I love. Some of the other gardens we get to see on our amazing trip, that's the crescendo. But when we actually start off, we actually head off to Bath, to Iford Manor, which is this most Italianate garden on the way in the beautiful city of Bath. We get to view the city. One of the areas which are, a lot of people love Bath. One of the things they don't see, Bishop's Place and Palace and Wells is a beautiful spot around there. And we actually get to spend the time and look at some of the cathedrals as well as the most amazing gardens in some of those areas. You can see here up on the left-hand side, we head on then down into Cornwall and we get to see some probably the most amazing gardens you're ever going to get to see. One, there you can see the first one. You've got the Mud Lady basically in there, which is at Helligan. And Helligan was one of those gardens which has been around for many hundreds of years and got lost. And that's why it's called the Lost Gardens of Helligan. It got overgrown and then basically they found a doorway. Basically it was used as a camp during the war. They found a doorway and probably the biggest restoration project in Europe took place. So we actually get to see that there. And anybody who's been there, the rhododendrons there and the kitchen garden are absolutely phenomenal. There's basically a little area you'll see even on some of my Instagram. All of our crew from Ross Garden Tours have a great time. There's a bridge over this basically beautiful river going through in creek. It's just the most amazing garden to travel through as you work through. The place we stay down in the St Austell is right on the coast, and it's the most beautiful outlook down in St Austell, just not far from the Eden Project, which many of you will know. The Eden Project, obviously, again, is basically like these amazing domes with all gardens from all around the world under them. And it's a most important environmental project. We're actually hoping over here in WA, we're going to be getting something similar. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that will actually happen over here. So we get to experience that. A couple of other gardens are Lanhydrock and Trewithen. You're going to see some of the most beautiful parterres, rhododendrons, camellias and magnolias, which they are to die for. When you actually experience those woodlands, it's like nothing you'll ever see. As we head on our way out of Cornwall, we head out through Hestercombe, which is one of my favourite gardens for the most intricate stonework and flowers. It's a Gertrude Jekyll design garden, and it's got the most amazing stonework as we work through. Heading back then towards Oxford on our way back, we see two gardens you can see there. First, probably one of the most famous up on the right-hand side, Hidcote. And we talk about garden rooms at Hidcote. And the long walk, for anybody who wants to get some ideas for their own gardens at home, it's a fantastic spot to just really look at how they work with colour combinations, how they theme the different rooms, and how it sort of seamlessly moves from one to another. Just basically 5-minute drive across, as you can see in the bottom through there, is Kifsgate. And some of you may know the Kifsgate Rose, which is a huge rose, and that's quite a romantic garden which has actually been over 3 generations of women gardeners which work through. So it's a series, it's got beautiful views over the hills. Again, a series of little theme rooms, sort of a Mediterranean theme on the top as you work on your way down through. A highlight, which is a first for this year, and I know it's been on some of the tours, is Broughton Grange, which is a Tom Stuart Smith design garden. And when we talk about a lot of the gardens we find there, this is one which is actually based on a lot of the cell structure of things like sycamore, oak and beech. And he's actually exploded that up and made sort of a prairie style garden mixed in with different topiary through there. So that's something quite a little bit different. And I know one of your favourites, which we haven't got some photos on here, which we always go to, is Marilyn Abbott's garden, basically at West Green. I know this is on a number of tours. This is probably one of my most favourite gardens. I've been there even with my children back in 2008, and they still talk about it to this day. You've got an amazing opera lawn. You've got the beautiful Alpine Wonderland themed little courtyards, and probably one of the most beautiful design potagers you'll find anywhere. We actually have the most wonderful lunch, or we've had morning teas and lunches in the glass house. And if you're looking at actually some of those beautiful pots in there, it's an experience which is, you know, well worth actually taking up. So some of our favourite little gardens there, and obviously the crescendo we finish off back at the Chelsea Flower Show. So, you know, you're getting the best of the best of all that England has to offer.
Yeah. Thank you, Colin.
Just adding, West Green and Marilyn Abbott's garden and Hidcote, I should say, are also, I have filmed them. And if you want to have a sneaky peek, you can have a look at Hidcote and West Green on Better Homes and Gardens Vision that I took last year and the year before.
Thank you, Graham. So Colin, if you'd like to tell everyone about this top end tour, Broome to Darwin.
Well, this tour has been we've undertaken for a number of years. I can remember one of the first tours I actually did with Graham, which actually was a part of this tour up in Broome. And Broome at the moment, particularly for all those on the other side of the country over here, or our new country of WA, one of the things about Broome is everybody's up there at the moment. Again, it's such a popular place. And a lot of people don't realise, you know, some of the great things actually up in Broome. So we're actually going to experience one of the great places up there, starting off at the Cable Beach Resort. So the Cable Beach Resort, it's a beautiful spot. You will get a lot of chance to enjoy the town itself. You've got the Chinatown, a lot of the pooling. As you can see up in the top left-hand side there, you've got Willie Creek Pools. So we actually get a chance to actually go up to Willie Creek Pools and actually view the pooling, see how basically the whole procedure, sample the pools, actually have a look at the pools themselves. And I always remember there, I think there was the biggest saltwater crocodile I ever saw. Phenomenal. So we were on the little boat and the saltwater crocodile was there, and I was thinking, I hope it stays away from me a little bit there. So you'll get to see all there. Ganthium Point, which is not far from Broome. You'll also get to see the dinosaur footprints. But from there, then we're heading east. We're heading to Derby. We get to see the great big prison boab, which you can actually have a look inside. One of my favourite places last time we went to was Tunnel Creek. And Tunnel Creek, there's quite a famous story about Jandamara and how he was actually being hunted and hid through all these tunnels and he was being chased. So as you can see there, the one on the right-hand side, that is actually part of Tunnel Creek. We get to walk through that. And actually, again, there's lots of freshwater crocodiles, lots of reptiles, amazing birds and rock art as we work through there. So it's a great little spot. We can also see there the Bungle Bungles on the left through there, which again was fairly only recently they were actually discovered, basically from some guys who were doing some filming. And we actually get to experience and walk as we work our way through, even in the Bungle Bungles. So we're actually working our way basically across from the Bungle Bungles over through to Kununurra, Catherine, all our way to basically to Darwin. If you look on the top left-hand side there, you can see what is an absolutely amazing spot, which I'm just so much looking forward to. And when you read a lot of the information, this is one of the things, is going for a swim at Zebedee Falls. So that's an amazing place. You're just looking at that lagoon. We actually get to experience what the country is really about there. So again, it's a bit like an outback safari, but we actually get to see lots of wildflowers as we go through. We experience a lot of the terrain, and the rock work and artwork and indigenous culture of the area is absolutely amazing. So It's a real adventure. One thing which a lot of people don't really know as far as in WA, and it comes to some of our other tours, is the night. We actually, the sun setting and the night sky, it's so clear. We get the beautiful sunsets over at Broome. That's another thing to remember, as well as Perth. But the night sky is so clear, you actually get to experience that beautiful night sky and the stars which seem so close. Down in the bottom left-hand side, you can see there, we've got Jabiru, which we actually get to go on the lake. You got the birds through there. We get to experience the Kakadu National Park, experience going through the lake, and also through, most of you will know, Lake Argyle. So we think we get a chance to have a look around the city, the town, which is actually in Catherine, and actually experience the local culture and local wildlife and bird life. So you can see that a little lotus as we actually go around on the lake. And most of you think of Bali and you think of tropical areas, but we're in the tropical north there. So that's, we actually, you've got the heat. This is, take your safari, take your swimmers, because this is, you really need to, enjoy that as we go through that. One of the places which you will also find is El Questro Wilderness Park. And that's one of the things where probably most famous you find where a lot of the superstars, you always Kylie Minogue and all, when they stay at El Questro. So we're actually, I don't think we'll be in exactly the same accommodation, but not far off. So we actually, again, get to experience the remoteness, the absolute parks, the lagoons, the lakes. For me, this is nothing like you will experience. It's really an adventure. And it's an adventure in the top end. And it's one of those places which now, over here in WA, all the cruises, all the top end are actually booked out. And because of, people want to experience that more outback lifestyle. So we work through Kakadu National Park, Litchfield National Park, finishing off all the way back in Darwin. We're going to look at where all the rivers basically come together, and we see some phenomenal scenery along the way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Colin. So over to you, Graham, and you and Sandra are going to Scandinavia next year.
Yes, Kirsty, we have been working on this itinerary for a long time, and Sandra has actually been taking this tour for many, many years. We don't do it every year. In fact, it's about every 3 or 4 years. And we decided that we would slot it in for 2021. And both of us are going on this journey. And we've had, surprisingly for us, so early in the piece, because it's not till June next year, but we've had a lot of inquiries. Scandinavia in summertime. It's a heavenly time to be there. It's long golden days and warm evenings, storybook castles, medieval villages, and divine gardens, of course. Now, we're taking this tour from Denmark into Sweden, then Estonia, and then finally St. Petersburg. It's definitely unforgettable. It's one of those high-end tours that has a lot of experiences that are just only found in those regions. We start in Denmark, we'll tour around Copenhagen, visiting the castles there. There's many to see, including Frederiksberg Castle, which is on the lower left with its parterres. And you can see from Versailles to Vienna, they were doing the same huge constructions of parterres. It's one of the best. You'll recognize Copenhagen's famous Little Mermaid statue by Edvard Eriksson, and depicting a mermaid who's becoming human. And we'll get an opportunity to get her photograph as well. Then we head south to Funen Island and the moated castle of Egerskov Castle. And that day we go also to the birthplace of Hans Christian Andersen. We leave Denmark and take a ferry across to Sweden and see the exquisite gardens of Sofiero Castle, which is on the lower right. The gardens there are beautiful before we head on to Gothenburg. Sweden is an incredibly scenic country, and summer, I think, is the best time to visit. We cross from Gothenburg to Stockholm, where we'll see some classic Swedish countryside. Just before we get into Stockholm, there's Pete Ulduf's Dream Garden. Pete Ulduf is now a global landscape icon from America, throughout Europe and England. He's leading the trend in landscape design. And we see his dream seedlings He's master of texture and creates a giant living tapestry. In Stockholm, we spent a day in the north visiting Linnaeus's museum. I'm really keen to see this. Each time Sandra sends me a photograph back, Linnaeus is a real icon of mine. I studied him many decades ago, creating, of course, the plant language, not only the plant language that we use, the genus and species, but he identified diseases, insects, fungi, so many plants and critters. He actually created the naming system. His home is now a museum and a garden. The Swedes have a fantastic allotment style garden, and we'll visit one of the most significant allotment gardens on the island of Södermalm. Some of the oldest in Stockholm, in fact. They're charming with their little pretty painted cottages, white picket fences, and neatly clipped hedges and colourful gardens. My son's father-in-law has just taken over one of these gardens in Hamburg in Germany, and they really are a great attraction, and we'll get time to see one of the largest. There's also time to relax and soak up the vibe in Stockholm's Old Town, which you can see there. The colour, the design and the colour of the buildings is quite spectacular. And we get inspired by the urban farming at Rosendale. That's on the lower left there. It's an oasis of sustainable farming right in the centre of the city, growing food and flowers using biodynamic practices as you'd expect. Then we catch the ferry across the Baltic Sea to Estonia and Tallinn, which is on the top left. These are medieval cities that we just know so little about from way down here in the South Pacific, squeezed between the Indian and the Pacific Oceans. It's a long way, and very few of us actually make the way and the journey. Well, we're going to provide that for you, and a train journey onto St. Petersburg, where we'll see the Peterhof Grand Palace, which is the top right-hand photograph. It's just glorious. It's amazing that they've spent so much money, because it was pretty left derelict after the war, but it's been beautifully restored. The Church of the Saviour on the Spilled Blood, that's the lower right, a glorious building, and on the lower left, yes, that's Catherine's Palace. This is a once-in-a-lifetime 16-day exploring Scandinavia, a real highlight of horticulture, architecture, and history and culture in Scandinavia.
Graham, it sounds amazing. It really does.
Yeah, it's a ripper of a tour.
Oh, it sounds it. Goodness. Okay, Colin, and we have, you're taking the Rose Gardens of England tour next year.
Yes, and this is a great one. I know Sandra's been there before. I've been to many of these gardens. I know Graham has too. Probably the interesting thing is it starts off at Newcastle, works all the way through Birmingham, and then finishes off down at the Hampton Court Flower Show, which is a bigger show than Chelsea. So it's more like your traditional sort of garden show. So it's a very, very interesting one. What's probably quite interesting is where we actually start off in Newcastle and Alnwick Castle. And for anybody who's watched Better Homes will know, I know Graham's had that on a number of times. The Poison Garden, it's got an amazing Grand Cascade there, and it's got an amazing rose garden as well. So we actually get to visit a beautiful garden there. Also up and around that area, we get to see another little garden, which is actually called Wynyard Hall on our way down. And that's got an amazing walled garden with a white garden and a wild garden as you work through. So quite distinct and very, very intricate. As we're actually heading further south from Newcastle, again, the key about this garden is we're actually seeing lots and lots of roses, as many as we can, at their prime in the UK. And that's one of the amazing things. So this is why this goes a little bit later. When we're there in Chelsea in those times, it's a little bit early. So we're getting there right at the dead on when the roses are going to be in full bloom. As we head further south, you can see in the top corner there, Chatsworth House. And I know, again, that's been on Better Homes many times. One of my favourite gardens in the Peak District. As you go through the beautiful hills, we get a chance to see inside the palace. We actually start to see, again, the Grand Cascade there, which I think the one at Alnwick was actually, probably modelled on a little bit through there. The beautiful long canals, the vistas, and again, the remodelled rose garden full of David Austin. So that's something not to be missed. Up in the top right-hand corner, probably a little bit further down the list, when we finish off, Sissinghurst. Again, another of those which is on anybody's wish list. We think, again, I've seen Sissinghurst early in the season when you've got the tulips and the bulbs and things coming through. We get to experience the white garden when it will be in full bloom. We actually get to see the rose multijuga actually in flower, which is an amazing thing in itself. So we get to experience Sissinghurst on a different level. We actually go up to the top of the tower and have a look around, and we can see all of those things there, which is great. In the bottom corner there, Colton Court, which is again a walled area, a bit of a mixture of roses and even sort of a bit more prairie style planting there, in and around a little hotel. So it's quite a nice garden in itself. Beautiful spots, been in again in the family for a number of years. This one is one which a beautiful garden, as you can see there. We get to see lots of perennials. Even on our way down through, as we've probably come on our way down through Chatsworth, we get to go to Trentham, one not to be missed for a lot of people. Trentham, again, a huge restoration project, probably some of the most amazing prairie style plantings you'll find. You've got Pete Oldorf there, Tom Stewart Smith designed there, and a mixture of topiary and prairie style planting as you go through that, and an amazing long border of roses. So it's, plus it has one of the best garden centres I think I've ever seen there. As we again head further south, one which is got to be again on anybody's bucket list as we head to Birmingham is David Austin Roses. Sadly, like I said, in 2019 he had a huge display when he passed away, but I love David Austin Roses. I grow lots of them, use them in my designs. If you want an old-fashioned looking rose with perfume, it's absolutely worth a visit. And so we actually get to speak to Michael Marriott. I know Michael for many, many years. He's been over to Perth with a lot of rose growers. They reckon in Perth we grow the best David Austin roses anywhere in the world, according to Michael. So we do have some benefits. As we head further south, staying in the beautiful Richmond, by the harbour, I know Kent lived there for many, many years. It's a beautiful spot, idyllic situation as we work through. We also get to go to, again, Westdean, which is another beautiful garden, quite distinct. Again, a number, probably the most amazing Victorian glass houses you're ever going to see. So it's a walled area. There's a multitude of Victorian glass houses, and they're growing all sorts of things which we take a little bit for granted. Figs, aubergines, grapevines through them. But again, some beautiful restoration work in there as well. Again, on this one, we get to see Marilyn Abbott's place, again, a little bit later at West Green. We get to enjoy the hospitality. So hopefully I get to enjoy it twice. And like I said, it's an amazing place to go. Finishing off, like I said, Sissinghurst, and then again, the crescendo, the Hampton Court Flower Show. I could spend 3 or 4 days there. Again, it's really like your huge, most amazing garden show on steroids. It's spread, again, you can travel there by basically along the River Thames on a little canal, basically as you work through along the river. And the amazing thing about it is you've got the best again of everything. But there's probably lots more to see even in Chelsea. Not as many display gardens, but they have a pavilion of the most amazing roses you will ever see. And the rose of the year, that's where they actually will show it at the Hampton Court Flower Show. So it's one of those which, if you want to see the roses in the UK, big, blousy and wonderful. One I did forget, which in that on the way I've been to, anybody who loves Brideshead Revisited, Castle Howard, I've seen on many, many occasions. And I know some of you will know the gardener there we've known for many, many years because he was at one of the other gardens we used to go to as well. So the rose garden there is exquisite, and there's a beautiful walk down through the lakes. You can imagine you're in the little car doing a few on Brideshead Revisited. So it's a lovely spot and a place to enjoy. So it will be a little, it's English summertime, so you do have to be prepared. You may need a rain jacket, but as long as you lay it, you'll have no problem. So I'm used to it.
Colin, it sounds amazing, and you're definitely the perfect person to be taking this tour, I've got to say. I think it would be so much fun to do this with you.
Well, the great thing I like on tour is we want to make sure people enjoy, have lots of fun. One of the things that, whether you're a single traveller or you're with a group, you make lots of new friends, and every night we get a chance, you actually get to meet other people who are like-minded, people who love gardeners are lovely people. We go out, we can have dinner as a group or on your own. We make sure you enjoy it, and that's probably one of the things I enjoy, talking about gardens. It's a thing I love, and how can you not enjoy just walking around a beautiful garden, and these are the best of the best.
Right. It's true. Thank you so much, Colin. Now, I have just been given a note by our producer, also known as Kent, that I must move things along. So just as much as I'm loving listening to both of you, we will try to speed things up just to try to keep to time. So, Graham, I'll just get you to quickly tell everyone about the Gardens of Singapore for next year, for next July.
Kirsty, for anyone that wants to escape the winter in Australia, Singapore is just a few hours away flight. It is a city now in a garden. It's a multicultural city. It's modern, 19th century charm. It's wrapped with this beautiful tropical garden. And of course, the big draw card, it's the largest garden of its kind in the world, the Gardens by the Bay project, which of course includes these super trees that you can see. There are two domes, one in the background and one on the other side that you can't quite see. One is a warm, temperate garden, and the other one is a cool, temperate mountain garden. And the cool, temperate mountain garden actually has a mountain inside it. Typical Singapore, over the top, and horticulture of a standard that we can only dream about. We have July as the date of departure, and we'll give you closer for those who are interested. It's normally a week, just a nice little escape. It's a beautiful hotel we stay in, and stunning hotel, which itself is clothed with plants with vertical gardens all the way around it. Even your room has vertical gardens in it. That's Gardens of Singapore in July 2021.
Thank you, Graham. And Colin, we're back in your adopted home. Now, you're leading this tour to see the wildflowers in Western Australia.
Yes, and I get to showcase you, obviously, even the best of Perth. We actually get to see Kings Park, starting off in Perth, which is our crescendo at the end. Well, I'm actually going to show you some of the other parks, Wireless Hill, Bold Park. You can see Kings Park in the top left-hand corner. That's our crescendo at the end, the Kings Park Festival. And you'll see plants from all the different regions throughout WA. So that's an amazing place to finish off. But what a lot of people don't realise, you get to see the wonderful sunsets over Cottesloe Beach. We get to have a look at Fremantle as we're there. Before we actually head south, we start off at Albany. And Albany, you can see in the bottom corner there, the Gap and the Natural Bridge is the most phenomenal, rugged and varied, basically rocks and structures there, but it has the most amazing flora you're actually going to find. Further from that, we head a little bit more west, and you can see that the Treetop Walk, which was the first of its kind anywhere in the world. So if you're scared a little bit about heights, you don't need to be there. It's an amazing, just to walk through all the different, what we call the tingle trees. So eucalyptus, jacksonii, the tingles, and absolutely amazing. It doesn't even feel like you're going uphill. So there is a smaller version now at Kings Park. They've got an elevated walkway as well. We actually go to the whaling station. There's no whaling there anymore at the whaling station. And again, there's a most amazing park there of all the flora of the region. So it's a very, very interesting site in itself. Around there, we go to the Stirling Ranges. You can see there in the top. And driving around really on a wildflower hunt. And that's the great thing. We're actually in the truck. We're going on a wildflower hunt. We're going to the Stirling Ranges, the Parongarup National Park, which we get great to see the great big carry trees, and just driving through those avenues of trees, is wonderful. I could spend days in those areas just working our way around. From there, we actually head then east. We go to the Ravensthorpe, which is the Wildflower Festival, and that's grown over many, many years. That's actually will be starting in a week's time now, and that's the area there, and probably some of my most favourite thing, the Fitzgerald National Park. I think that must be one of my favourite places now to go. It's an experience which the rugged nature of the hills, the flora. If you want to see the Royal Hakea, have a look at if you want to Google Royal Hakea, it's really like a cabbage on, it's like an ornamental cabbage on steroids. It's like nothing you will ever see. And to see them growing in the wild is a sight to behold. Ravensthorpe Show, we go wild looking at some of the very, very unusual eucalypts, which are around and only endemic to that area. 20,000 plants are only endemic to that. 20% of the whole population of Western Australia's flora is endemic to that area at Fitzgerald National Park. So it's a real floral hotspot. From there, we head to Esperance. If you want to see some of the best wildflowers, the most amazing beaches anywhere in the world, the whitest sands. Last time we were there, nobody believed me, but we saw the kangaroos on the beach. So they thought, we're pulling the leg. And I was pulling the leg a little bit on the way. We're not going to see any. And just as we were about to go in the car park, I've actually got some videos on Instagram, out they came, just on cue. So I told them I had it all lined up, but I didn't really. So it was an amazing sight. Then we head from Esperance, Cape Harriet, the national park. So again, that's an amazing scenery, bird life, up, back through Wave Rock. So if you've ever thought of going Wave Rock, but it's too far, most people in Perth do, we actually go right past it and stay overnight and actually view the rock. So it's a great little thing before we head back through Corrigin and then back into Perth, through the hills, heading back into Perth, where we actually, again, back into a bit of luxury at the Duxton for a couple of nights, and then we get to enjoy Kings Park and all its glory, which, you know, is a beautiful place to just enjoy. I'm actually going there probably next week, once the flowers are a few more out, and actually to enjoy it and check it out ready for next year.
Oh, nice. Well, Colin, I hope you put some pictures up on Instagram when you do your trip so we can see what's happening down there.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, so I'm going to be heading to Bold Park, Wireless, so in the next few weeks, really, again, to get the lowdown, just where the flowers are looking the best.
Okay, brilliant. We look forward to it. Thank you so much. And Graham, I understand Libby is heading out to Outback Queensland next September.
Yes, Libby Cameron's been doing this tour for quite some time. She loves this region, knows it well, and she's looking forward to heading back there. This is Outback Queensland, which includes Longreach and way out even further to Birdsville. It includes the Stockman's Hall of Fame, Outback Queensland and the countryside. You can see the Red Hills there. The Qantas Museum at Longreach, where they've now got a new jumbo as well. Outback homesteads. The thing that everybody talks about on the return is hospitality. And there are a couple of these Australian Outback tours that we include, the private homesteads and the hospitality. We'll keep you updated on the dates of this one as well. Always a great experience in Queensland, heading right out to the Birdsville track.
Sounds amazing. And this is a tour that Sandra's put together, and I believe that I'm taking this next year, which I'm very excited about. But Sandra's got many friends up in the New England, doesn't she, Graham? And so I know we'll be visiting their private gardens.
Yes, again, it's hospitality that they love to share. They've had some terrible droughts, yet the rains, the recent rains, will turn this area 12 months from now, in fact, be about 15 months from now. It'll be much greener than it has been in the past. Travelling up through Armidale, across to Tenterfield, to the Tenterfield Saddler. We'll keep you updated on the exact dates. But again, it's hospitality, relaxing. You just sit in the coach, pop out, morning tea, afternoon tea, lunches, and meeting beautiful people.
I think Linda coined a phrase one time. She was giving a presentation and she said, it's like having a CWA morning tea every day. It really is. It's scones and tea and delicious homemade cakes. It's wonderful, these country trips. I just love them.
Of course, the Melbourne Cup, we've been waiting for it just to see what the details are. It looks like it might be held slightly differently. That's Lamarck Rose that you can see above this couple here. It's a stunning rose. We get there the day before. We have a private vision. Once we get through security, we have a private vision of both the cup and the gardens with the head gardener. The Philip Johnson Design Garden at Coombe, which is the home of Dame Nellie Melba in the Yarra Valley, is another attraction that we've added onto this. We visit two gardens, Lubra Bend and also a Coombe Estate of Dame Nellie Melba. So again, it's a little short visit, a bit of fun and a bit of a flutter at the Melbourne Cup, at the Lexus Melbourne Cup, and of course, some beautiful gardens to boot. That'll be in November next year. We've also, of course, we have a new tour that we put together, Sydney in spring. That photograph is down right on the headland of the first fig that was planted in Barangaroo. It's a 6-day journey exploring Sydney at Jacaranda time. It's a very pretty time in the Harbour City. Kirsty's taking this. We visit Wendy Whiteley's beautiful garden and head out to North Head as well as staying in Wendy's little valley. You'll visit Bronte House, one of the oldest homes in Australia, in fact, and see the sculptures by the sea, which will have been erected by that stage. We do head down just to the Southern Highlands to visit a couple of gardens down there. But Barangaroo is joined with one of my Jacaranda cruises, a day on the harbour for 3 or 4 hours, looking at the jacarandas, just getting away from it all. If you're an out-of-towner and you want to come to Sydney, it's a great time to see some of the beautiful gardens, private gardens that we can introduce you to, and see the harbour city.
Thank you, Graham. I'm looking forward to it. That will be fun.
Garden Marlborough is the top end of the South Island. They have a large garden show, but it's of the old scale. It's human scale, private gardens, lots of, again, traditional Kiwi hospitality. It's one of the prettiest parts of the world in Tasmania, in New Zealand. And as we all know, New Zealand is one of those underrated countries for natural beauty. We go to see the Rapua Spring Garden in Marlborough, the perfect time to visit this beautiful region. The peonies will be out, the wisteria will be out. We have some great visits, including Fisherman's Bay Garden, the Christchurch Botanic Gardens, Giant's House and Lyndon Akaroa, and the Mosaic Sculpture Garden. And we'll take a cruise on Queen Charlotte Sound and visit Hortensia House. It's a lovely escape to Marlborough in the top end of the South Island of New Zealand.
Thank you, Graham. And I know we're going fast, but we do have this beautiful South Australia tour that Libby again is taking, and she goes to Kangaroo Island.
Yes, I must admit, this is a journey I've yet to take, but Sandra, our son Kent, and Libby has been taking this tour for many years. It's a very popular part of South Australia, and it includes Kangaroo Island. We want to support them after the dreadful bushfires of early this year. They're working hard to having the place looking attractive once again for tourists. We'll travel up through the Barossa Valley into the Adelaide Hills, visit Hans Heissens' garden, which I just love. It's called The Cedars. It's just like he'd just walked out to get the mail. Hans Heissens' beautiful garden where he painted all those beautiful gum trees. We also visit Sophie Thompson's garden from Gardening Australia and Sophie's Patch, and then down to Kangaroo Island to see the bush regeneration in the Flinders Chase National Park, the Admiral's Arch and the Remarkables. We visit some really beautiful gardens there, including Tickle Tank, which I filmed on Better Homes some years ago. So it's one of those list of gardens that I'd be here for another week listing, but it includes, of course, the top end of South Australia into the Flinders, not quite to the Flinders Ranges, into the Hills district of Adelaide, and then down south into Kangaroo Island.
Perfect. And
inside,
yes, this is our Inside Victoria tour, Graham, and this will be the third time that we'll be in Victoria, and this time going to quite different areas. So this time based in Mornington, and then also seeing some of the garden in the Gippsland area.
Now, I think you're taking this tour, aren't you, Kirsty?
I am. Yes, it was wonderful. I was there last year with Carolyn, and the gardens are just world class.
Dame Elizabeth Murdoch's Cruden Farm, what a joy that is. Been on television quite a few times, including those 100 lemon-scented gums lining the drive. Broughton Hall, I'm following them on Instagram. In the Gippsland, David Muscat and David's done. In fact, both those boys have created a stunning garden. Fiona Brockhoff's private coastal home, and the garden that you can see here, of course, which is Paul Bangay's garden. So it includes some really stunning Victorian gardens. It's a bit of a secret part out to Flinders, and we discovered it some years ago, again, while filming for Better Homes, and we thought there's a tour here, and Kirsty's going to be putting that tour. We've put it together, and she'll be leading that next November 2021. And I'm sure by then the country will be open to enjoy.
Yes, yes, let's hope so. So, and we have the Jacaranda cruises in November, Graham.
Yes, 4 of them, and we're looking forward to our journey both this year, Jacaranda time, and again next year. Just be wary. Groups are starting to book in large numbers each year, and they book ahead. And quite often, the cruises, the 4 separate cruises, will be half full many months, 6 months before them. So if you're thinking about joining us on any one of the 4 days for the Jacaranda cruises in October, November this year or next year, you need to get in fairly quickly, because the groups and different community groups are starting to book their seats, and it's always such a lot of fun. I love the harbour. I love the history. I've just about finished Lachlan Macquarie's book on his time as governor, and I've got some really interesting behind-the-scenes stories from Governor Lachlan Macquarie's time here in the 1850s to add to our Jacaranda cruising.
Oh, good. That will be so fun. I'm really looking forward to those, Graham. And so we've put together a really fun program of day tours. So we do have some coming up this spring, and Graham is taking a group to Mount Tomah and Mount Wilson. I'm going to the Southern Highlands to Mickey Robertson's. We're also going up to the Central Coast. So we're loving exploring Sydney and what's in our own backyard, and these day tours are a wonderful opportunity to do that. So we will certainly have more of a program for next year, and we will put all of that information on the website and keep you updated in social media and by email. And one of our day tours that we wanted to particularly mention, because Linda does organise the Collectors Plant Fair, and unfortunately it was postponed or cancelled for this year. So we're very much looking forward to getting back out there in April. So that certainly will be one of our first day tours that we'll be doing next year. So, and again, we will keep you posted on all the details for that. So, Graham, and so just these are some of our tour leaders.
Yeah, that brings us to almost the end of our presentation today, and I really thank you for your time with Sandra and Colin, Robin, Paul, everybody's there, and Libby and Michael and Linda. And my tall streak up in the top right-hand corner, Brent Reed, who joined me in Japan last year. We're all looking forward, in particular, with people like Claire Bickle, who have joined us from Brisbane, and Michael has been with us for many years in journeys around Australia and around the world. We have an exceptionally high percentage of return business, one of the highest in the world. The average around the globe is about 32% of return business. We've been over 70% each year since the company opened business back in 1980. And we're very proud of that. And it's very much due to behind the scenes workers and the tour leaders that we have been able to achieve that incredibly high rate of return business.
Yeah, thank you, Graham. So, as we are wrapping up today's presentation, just to make sure everyone is aware, we are paying, of course, special attention to ensuring all our tours are COVID safe. They are limited in numbers. We do practice the social distancing on the coaches. We have hand sanitizer. The coaches are kept very clean. We have larger size coaches to ensure that there's plenty of room aboard and to keep everyone safe. So, yeah, just to let you know, we are doing the best that we can do in all of these very difficult situations. But it is lovely to have been here today and talking with Graham and Colin and feeling a lot more motivated about what's ahead and to travelling again together. So thank you, Graham.
My pleasure. Don't forget, if you have any interest at all, give Royce or Rosalind or Melissa a call about any of our tours. If you have a mild interest in any one of them or 2 or 3 of them, if you let us know, we can then keep you informed of the progress and any changes in the dates And we're doing our utmost to make sure that you're safe, but can still enjoy the experiences of garden travel.
Thank you, Graham. And thank you so much, Colin, for joining us. It was our first time having you with our online presentation, and it was a lot of fun. So I hope we get to do more of these in the future.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to be here, and I can't wait to show, you know, the Ross Garden Travellers what makes your company so great. You know, it's been around for many, many years. I've been lucky enough to travel with Graham when I started off, and, you know, you go far beyond what any other travel company does. And like I said, your hotels are always in the best spots. We're talking about morning teas. One thing I forgot to mention is the morning tea at Bybury is the best morning tea you'll have anywhere in the world. So that's one of the things, that's one I look forward to every year. So that's done by the CWA ladies in Bybury, and that's the most amazing thing. And those little things make all the difference, and that's where you really do make the difference. So thank you very much for having me, and I can't wait to lead the tours again and get back to normal.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Colin. Well, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly have enjoyed the presentation and loved hearing the stories from Graham and Colin. So we will keep you up to date, as we've said, with all the information will be on the website and certainly through emails and social media. So stay safe, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you soon and travelling together again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.